Hey guys, this is Cody and I'm back here again for the final part of my favorite movies of all time series. I've really enjoyed doing this series, but I think it's gone on for, long enough. So in this video I'm just going to be talking about my top 10 favorite films. Now the first 5 movies I'm going to talk about are really in no particular order, but the last 5 are my definitive top 5 films. So I'm going to go and get started. But before I do, I wanted to give an honorable mention to a movie that almost made my top 10, but the movie I'm giving an honorable mention to is The Addams Family, and this film is, based on the classic TV series, and it's got Christopher Lloyd plays Uncle Fester in this one, and Christina Ricci plays Wednesday, and this is just a great adaptation, just a great, film adaptation of the series. And the second one, I enjoyed the second one as well. And the second one, Wednesday and Pugsley go to camp. But the first one has always been one of my favorite films, and I just wanted to give it a mention. So now we're going to go ahead and get started. First movie I want to talk about is a movie that I know that so many people have seen. It's a classic movie. I don't need to talk about it a lot, but The Goonies. Definitely one of my favorite childhood movies, and one movie that I know so many people have seen, and it's just an all-around great movie. Now this next movie is one that I've actually talked about before in my favorite movie series, but I wanted to go ahead and include it in my top 10. It's one of my favorite childhood movies, and it's a great story of, feeling different and not having anyone really understand you. Matilda. This is an all-around great movie. Like I said, everyone does an amazing job in this movie, and it's about, in my opinion, this movie is kind of about, finding people that love you and finding a power within yourself to make your life happy. Even though in this one she actually has powers, but I think the message is, trying to find a power in yourself, to make your life how you want it. And this movie's a great family film and has lived on for years, and it's always been one of my favorite films. Now the next one is a movie that I've talked about so many times. I did a review of it. It's always been one of my favorite films, and it's one of my favorite books as well. The Outsiders. Absolutely love this movie. So many people who are in this film went on to become great actors. C. Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze, Ralph Macchio, Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez. Just such an amazing cast, and yeah, like I said, I love both the book and the movie, and this movie is all about belonging. It's about, not feeling like you belong and trying to find a place in this world. And that's what I feel this movie is about. So, The Outsiders. Now, the next one was the first little creature movie I ever saw, and that's Gremlins. Again, another movie I've talked about so many times, and it's always been one of my favorite ones. It's just an all-around amazing movie. Yeah, I remember this was one movie that it never scared me as a kid, but it always kind of creeped me out a little bit. And but yeah, this is always one I've always remembered. It's also got a great theme. I love the theme. I also really enjoy Gremlins 2. I know a lot of people don't like that one, but I've always enjoyed it. So yeah, there's Gremlins right there. Now the next one was, this was the first horror movie that I ever saw, and it's one movie that really got me into watching horror films. I saw it when I was way too young, Child's Play. Again, I've talked about this movie so many times. One of my all-time favorite horror films, and one of my favorite films as well. I can talk about this movie all day, but alright, and now we're moving into my definitive 5, and the first one I want to talk about is one of the greatest family classics of all time, The Wizard of Oz. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of the most beautiful films of all time, in my opinion, and it's one of the most successful movies. I mean, even today, Wizard of Oz merchandise is still selling, and this movie it's a classic. It's a timeless classic, and I absolutely love it. Just everything about this is great. The acting, the soundtrack, just it's a perfect movie in my opinion. Now this next one is a movie that a lot of people find sad, and it is a sad movie, but it's one movie I grew up watching, and every time I watch it, it reminds me of what it was like when I was this young, and it's My Girl. And this is, again, another Macaulay Culkin movie, and this also has Anna Chlumsky in it in her first movie. And this movie is pretty much about, it's a coming-of-age story about, first love, and, Dan Aykroyd plays Anna Chlumsky's, father, and he's a mortician. And Jamie Lee Curtis is also in this, and this was the first movie I saw her in. I saw this way before I saw Halloween. And, yeah, it's just, like I said, an all-around amazing film. So, My Girl. Alright. Speaking of Jamie Lee Curtis, this is my favorite horror movie of all time. I've talked about it so many times. The original Halloween from John Carpenter. In my opinion, this is the best horror film of all time. Next to Night of the Living Dead, Psycho, The Exorcist, and The Shining, this is definitely one of the 5 best horror films of all time, in my opinion. And yeah, it's one movie that's lived on for generations, and it's a movie I have to watch every year around Halloween. Well, of course I do, but yeah, I've talked about this movie so many times, and it's just an all-around classic. Alright, so now the next movie is actually a sequel, and once you see this one, you'll probably know what my number 1 pick is for my favorite movie. Well, it's actually tied. I actually have 2 movies tied for my favorite movie of all time, but my second favorite is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Now, this one's not as good as the original, but I absolutely love this one. In this one, there's a lot of great moments of, Kevin going to the big toy shop. I remember that scene, and when he gets the turtle doves, and, it always says if you keep one and you give another one to a very special person. Just scenes like that are always great. And I've talked about the Home Alone movies so many times, but this one and the original are my 2 favorite childhood movies. And it not just Christmas time, but I remember, as I've said in past videos, I used to watch these movies all the time over and over again as a kid. And I absolutely love both of them. Okay, and now my number 1 spot, and I had to pick 2 movies for my number 1 spot. They were both tied. I could not say which one I liked better, but these are the 2 movies that, out of all the movies I've watched in my collection, out of all the films that I've grown up watching and that I love, these 2 have beat every other film out, and that is Twister and the original Home Alone movie. Both of my favorite movies of all time. Now, I love Twister because when I was younger, I used to have a huge fascination with tornadoes and volcanoes, and I used to watch this movie over and over again, pretty much on a daily basis, and it's always, been one of my favorite films. It has some of the best special effects in a movie of all time, I think. Well, some of the best special effects, tornado effects, I mean. Because pretty much every other movie that has had tornado effects, they never looked as realistic enough. I think that the tornadoes in this have the best realistic, are the most realistic. That and the tornado at the beginning of The Wizard of Oz. I think that those are the tornadoes in this film and the tornado at the beginning of The Wizard of Oz are the best, I guess you'd call them tornadic effects, if that's even a phrase, but they have this one and Wizard of Oz have the best tornado effects in a film. And I also think this movie's got a good story, even though it goes into the action pretty early, it also has a lot of time to build up the characters, and they're all very likable characters in the film, and you really believe in them, and you want to see them succeed in what they're trying to do. And Twister is definitely one, it's something that I think is missing in a lot of modern action films. I think for the most part, action films today, they don't focus on the characters, they mostly focus on the action, but Twister I think is one that I think really had a good mix of both great action and great characters in it as well. So Twister is my number 1, and my second pick is Home Alone. I've talked about this movie so many times, watched both of them when I was the first 2 films when I was a kid over and over again. It's probably my favorite Christmas movie as well. This one and A Christmas Story are my 2 favorite Christmas films, and I remember when I was a kid, I would pretend to be Kevin, and I would pretend to set up traps for, the bad guys. And it's always been, my absolute favorite film. So, there you go. Well, that is it. That is my top 10 favorite movies of all time, and that is the last part of my favorite movies list. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed, watching these. I know I talked about the same movies that I've talked about in previous videos, but I enjoy doing these videos, sort of giving you guys updates on, my favorite films, and thank you all for watching. I really do. Like I've said before, these are movies that every time I think about good movies, these are the ones I think about. They're the ones that have stuck with me. They're the ones that have made the most impact in my life. And they're the ones that I do believe, as I grow older, I still love them just as much today as I did when I was younger. And I know once you're a movie collector, I think that's what happens. Once a movie is your favorite, it remains your favorite, I think. Even though you might grow out of it, you might, stop watching a film for a certain amount of time, or you might just move on to something else. I think your favorite movies have always have a place in your heart. And, these are the films for me. So anyway, guys, I want to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for following this series. Even though I enjoy doing them, I am kind of glad it's over because I'm ready to move on to something else. I already have one new video already recorded, and I plan on uploading it probably on Sunday. But anyway, guys, I just want to say thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Let me know what you guys think about all these movies, like I said, and let me know what are your 5 favorite movies. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.